Today I want to talk to you about Joe Pera. I'm a big fan of this television program. It's a gentle refuge in a world gone mad. It makes me laugh with its absurdist gentleness and generally makes me feel like life's gonna be okay. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Joe Pera Talks With You has been on Adult Swim since its first special debuted in 2016, but it's only now in its third season. It's a show that likes to take its time, much like your grandpa getting up off a low couch during the halftime of a football game to grab a beer. In a given episode, a man, that's Joe, talks to you about some mundane aspect of life. Fish fries, lighthouses, Baba O'Reilly. Meanwhile, some low-stakes but true-to-life drama plays out in the background. That's it. But that's enough.
吃什么？
我要一份油条。
要一个油条
啊。
还要什么？要吃吗？打包。
打包。
打包一个油条。
还有什么？
有没有豆浆？
有。
一杯豆浆。
一杯豆浆。
His world is populated by small-town characters that are played by comedians and non-actors. They get into scrapes that are both universal and super specific. Like when your mom calls and says she's ordering rainbow Hannah Anderson pajamas for the whole family for Christmas and what's your size? Which is happening to me right now. Hold on a minute, Mom. Let me find those measurements. I can't find them right now. Can I email them to you later? Joe Pera, the man, got his start in stand-up, and his television show is ostensibly a comedy. And it is funny, once you get the rhythm of it. But unlike a gag-a-minute Simpsons episode or a Rodney Dangerfield mean-spirited set, Joe's humor is very gentle. If anything, it's more an expression of joy at the wonders of being alive. Like that first night in a fresh set of sheets. It doesn't make that big presentation any less stressful or your neighbor's dog any less loud. But it's very pleasant. 谢谢. Does analyzing something ruin that something? No, I don't think so. His show is set in the small town of Marquette, Michigan. I've never been, but I hear you can see the aurora borealis from there once you get away from the city lights. Chongqing, where I live, isn't a small town. It's one of the biggest cities in the world. But no matter where you live, it's the support and friendship you get from the people around you that give your life purpose. And that's what I get from Joe Pera. When I first started watching the show, I wasn't sure I got it. It being on the Adult Swim network meant that its neighbors were brash cartoons that were crude and sometimes downright cynical. Like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, a show about anthropomorphized fast food items who have a human neighbor called Carl. Nothing wrong with that, but it set up the expectation for me anyway, that the kind-heartedness was going to be part of the joke. Watching that first episode, I braced myself for that super cringe moment when Joe himself became the butt of the joke. But it never came. And I realized the kind-heartedness wasn't the joke. It was the point. Excuse me, it's my mom. She wants to order soon, but I still haven't found those measurements. Just get extra large. But anyway, the show. It's not that it's nice. No one really likes nice. I think that what makes it work is the fact that Joe Pera responds to a troubling world with calming, slightly absurdist observations. In his first special, Joe Pera Talks You to Sleep, the entire premise is that you, the listener, might be too worried to sleep. So he shows you some stock photos of barns from upstate New York. In the current season, his girlfriend struggles with some very real anxieties that the show never minimizes, but Joe the character engages with her and tries to show her a world where things are okay. His neighbors, the Melskys, have their own issues. Sometimes Mike Melsky is outright mean to Joe, but Joe meets his callousness with, well, kindness. And often some deeper issue is revealed that has nothing to do with Joe. Mike Melsky just really needs a win. You're not an XL, measure yourself. Look, she's serious, it's all in caps. This is a comedy, I promise you. Conflict is funny, and gentle conflict is hilarious. These small quarrels and triumphs are often paired with a themed monologue that winds its way through the episode where Joe gets super curious about beans, or bachelor parties, or piano lessons. The performances are polymathic in scope, mixing obscure facts, history, and general encyclopedic knowledge.
Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
1, 2, 3，不
大米把头戴。
In Joe Pera Shows You Iron from season 1, Joe learns to embrace change by tracing Marquette's geological history from the underwater volcanic activity along the mid-continental rift to the construction of the Superior Dome. That's a football stadium. But the beauty of it all is that Joe is not a know-it-all. He's just really interested in you, in everything. And his flights of fancy stay grounded in an emotional truth that complements the domestic dramas running through the episode. Oh, wow. That's my Owen Wilson impression. Or rather, my impression of Melissa Villaseñor doing Owen Wilson. I'm not very good at impressions myself. I've been not doing the Joe Pera impression this whole time. How's it going? But I like impressions. I know some people think they're hack, but I find them comforting. You get to see something familiar with a new and funny twist. And that's the appeal of Joe Pera, I think. He's always talking about something ordinary, but he presents it in such a surprising way. That's a little bit funny. From a production standpoint, the show is very clever. Developing as it did out of Joe Pera's stand-up career, it's incredibly low budget. Their cast is small, they film on location, and a big part of every episode is monologuing over B-reel or even stock footage. And each episode is only about 11 minutes long. They couldn't afford not to make it. I'm not minimizing their efforts, I'm just pointing out they've got a lo-fi aesthetic that they leverage to their advantage, which is something I hope to do one day. There's no big statement to Joe Pera. It's just a lovable oddball running around an empty baseball diamond 4 times to deal with some unpleasant emotions. I've never done that, but have you ever tried pie cross or nonograms? They're a logic puzzle in which you fill in a numbered grid to create a picture. I must have left this up here earlier. And there's my measurements. A small victory. Just like Joe Pera. Is this whole video an attempt to capitalize on Joe Pera's popularity? I don't have a bean arch, but I do have this shrimpy radish. There's room for more than one good thing in the world. I love Joe Pera's show, and I love you too, viewer. Well, maybe I got carried away there. I don't know you, but I might like you, and you might like me.
I'm Western Toilet. talking to me?